got a guest speaker, James Hahn, who is the lead of our Excel team here at YCharts. I believe many of you have worked with us before to have custom templates built or to make modifications to some of the templates on our site, and James does lead the team in Chicago who works on those. So our resident Excel expert will take it from here.
All right. Thanks, Connie. Thanks for the nice introduction. As you guys heard, my name is James Hahn. I am a part of the Excel team here at YCharts. Today, I wanted to go over 3 parts during the call. The first part I wanted to go over was downloading and installing the software. The second part was using and modifying templates that we currently have on our website. And third, and lastly, building your own template. So if you guys have Q&A, as Connie mentioned, feel free to just use that chat function and one of us will get back to you. But let's go ahead and kick it off. Downloading and installing the software. I'm going to click over to our website here. And at the beginning of the website, just put your cursor over Tools and go ahead and click on Excel. This will take you to this web page, and it'll basically have all of the information that you're looking for when it comes to Excel. However, before we start, let's go ahead and find out what version of Excel you're currently running. The two different versions are 32-bit and 64-bit, but keep in mind that there is a difference between the operating system as well as the Microsoft Office environment. So there could be some of you with a 64-bit Windows environment, but using a 32-bit Microsoft Office, such as myself. That being said, if you want to know the specifics of finding out what version or what bit version of Office you have, there's going to be this button that says, how do I know whether I'm running this version of Office? If you go ahead and click on it, a box will pop up and it'll tell you, depending on the version that you have, which one to use. Let me close on that. So once you find out which version you're running, you're going to see this big green button that says Download Excel Add-in. There will be a couple of you that I'm sure it'll either say Upgrade or just Download. I just wanted to note for those who currently do have the add-in, the reason it might say Upgrade is because it's not the latest version. I just wanted to let you guys know that probably once a month or maybe even more frequently, you should check for newer versions, only because they will have upgrades for performance as well as compatibility with our new features that we do release. Here, I also want to touch upon that we do not support Mac or any cloud versions of Excel. I do know that there are some of you out there that do have Boot Camp or use Parallels. However, we don't necessarily support that environment. All right. Now that's out of the way, just go ahead and click on the version that your computer currently has, and just click on that big green button. On the right-hand side, you will see an access key. It's roughly about 20 digits, and can you go ahead and copy that, like I did here? And once you've downloaded and installed the software, you will see a YCharts tab that looks similar to this. On the left-hand side, it should be blank. Mine currently says using saved app key, only because my key is already in here. But go ahead and paste your access key in there. I just want to note there should be no spaces before or after that key. And then once you're ready, just go ahead and click on Login. Once you click on Login, it should say credentials verified and stored successfully. So now that it has been saved, you do not have to click Login every time you open a new spreadsheet. So that is the basics of installing or downloading and installing the program. And we're going to move on to the second part of our webinar, which is using and modifying templates. So going back to our web page, you'll see that there's going to be 4 different links right underneath the search field. Go ahead and click on Templates. If you click on the Templates page, it'll take you to where all of our templates are stored. They're pre-made, tested, and free for our professional users to use. When you download these templates, you can make any changes or modify them however you please, save them to your own computer, and even share them with your colleagues or clients. I also want to note that recently we added about a dozen new templates to this page, and we will be going through 2 particularly popular ones. The first one we're going to go through is the one-page equity Tearsheet, and that's located under the company fund overview. And that we're going to, when we pull that up, we're going to modify a couple different metrics and add certain rows just so you guys could duplicate that on your side as well. And the second template that we're going to go look at is the mutual fund composition template. And here we're just going to adjust tickers, weights, and see the different allocations and exposures to our portfolio. So let's go ahead and click on that one-page equity Tearsheet. Once you click on that, a file should download. That should look similar to this one here. On the beginning of all of our templates, we're going to have a little instructions and disclaimer. Most of them are pretty simple, so if you guys do run into any questions, definitely let us know. On the second tab, you will see that the one-pager equity will be Agilent. And that being said, since it's on Agilent, everything is powered by the cell A1. So let's go ahead and change this to another ticker, and I just am going to use Starbucks. Click on Enter. And as you can see, it'll switch to Starbucks really quickly. If you click on one of these cells, you can see how all of these metrics change. I'm going to simply just click on the formula, and as you can see, they're color-coded. And so how this cell is working, it's pulling in cell A1 and A9. But easier put, on the YCharts tab, we do have this Edit Formula button. So if you go ahead and click on the Edit Formula button, you could actually even click on this FX button as well. It'll pop up a box, and it'll tell you what it's pulling in. So it looks like, my argument is pulling in the Starbucks ticker as well as the name. And then if you click on OK, it's going to pull in Starbucks. In addition, this template, it has, corporate information as well as a little blurb about the company. If you scroll down, it's going to show you a growth of $10,000 over the past year. Certain return metrics, price metrics, as well as dividend data. That being said, it is also printer friendly, so if you did want to print it, just go ahead and click on File and then Print, and it'll take you to a print preview, which will print just like this. However, let's say you wanted to manipulate some of these figures. Let's say you weren't interested in the revenues TTM figure. There's 2 ways to get the code and find out exactly where all of this data is pulling. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to click on that number, the 19 million, and just click on that Formula tab. And as you can see, it's referring back to cell F11 here. If you scroll up, it's referring to the Starbucks ticker. And then it's referring to revenues TTM, which is located in cell A51. The other way we can do it, some of you might prefer this way as well, is to go back to our website, and let's go ahead and go to the Starbucks page. The easiest way to do it, I would recommend, is just typing in Starbucks in the search field and just click and go. And on the menu tab, you'll see that there's going to be this data tab. Just go ahead and click on that. And let's say we wanted to, instead of revenues TTM number, we wanted to pull in the enterprise value number. So we go ahead and click on enterprise value. And you'll see that in the right hand, almost the bottom right hand corner, there's going to be this metric code. You could either go ahead and copy that, or the other place that you could find this data is going back to the Tools Excel part of the web page, and under the search field, there's going to be this link, reference guides. In that reference guides link, there's going to be 4 different links, but then the third and the fourth one have all of our metric codes. The third one is basically the 300 to 400 most used metrics, and the last link is our complete library of all of our metrics. So if you download that, it'll have, if this is equity, it'll have roughly about 4,500 different metrics. For this exercise, I'm just going to, since I did copy the enterprise value, I'm going to go back to this one-page Tearsheet and just paste that value into cell A51, and then click Enter. And as you can see, it updated to 87 billion. And just to make sure it lines up, I'm just going to type in enterprise value. So let's say instead of changing a figure, you wanted to add several lines. That's definitely possible as well. For this case, I'm just going to insert 2 rows by just highlighting any 2 rows. I'm just going to do it here just so it looks clean. And the two metrics that I want to put into my one-page equity Tearsheet is EV to EBITDA. And I also want to pull in the PE ratio. So again, I am just putting in these codes. You could put these codes in on the side, but just so you guys understand what I'm doing, I think it'll show you guys more clearly. So we could actually go back to the website and pull in that figure, or you could just click on this YCP button located at the top. And when you click on that YCP button, what it does is you're pulling in one point of data, whether it's historical or from the current. And in that ticker box, I'm just going to click on that cell referencing button and go back up to the top and click on Starbucks. And then in the calculation, I'm just going to refer to the figure, EV to EBITDA, and then click on OK. As you can see, it'll pull in that number, and you can change the format to however you like. And for the PE ratio, it's the exact same thing. I'm just going to click on YCP once again, click on that cell referencing number, or cell referencing field, click on that ticker, and then in the calculation field, I'm just going to scroll back down and click on PE ratio, and click on OK. And as you can see, it'll pull in the PE ratio as well. So that's one way of modifying certain templates that we do have. I'm going to open up another template just so it shows you a different kind of modifying that we can do. So I'm just going to close out of this and go back to our website. Once you're back at, we're back at the reference guides page, I'm just going to click on templates one more time, and it'll show you all the templates that we do have. And under the portfolio holding tools, just go ahead and click on that fund portfolio analysis. Once you click on that file, it should download a file that's exact to this one, and it'll also have that instructions and disclaimer. On that next tab, Asset Allocation and Data Entry, you'll see that it'll have several different funds listed. I want to note that this tab as well, it says Data Entry just because it's the only tab that you need to enter data. All the other tabs will be filled in via these 2 blue tabs. And for this first symbol, I'm just going to throw in a mutual fund. I chose the Fidelity Biotech Fund, and I'm also going to give it a 20% allocation. However, before I do that, you'll see that right now the average or the sum, it says 80%, and it will stay red until it equals 100. So once that's there, you'll notice that all the key information as well as the asset allocation will fill out. You'll notice that for these funds, on average, they'll have about a 4%, or your portfolio will have about a 3.75 cash allocation, close to about a 59% stock allocation, and a 38% bond allocation. Next, on the equity breakdown tab, you'll see that it'll, that SBIOX has funneled into here, and it's going to show the market cap exposure as well as the stock exposure. So that being said, you could type in all the tickers you want, and you'll see that it'll do an average for your portfolio. And just looking at our hypothetical portfolio that we created, you'll see that it seems to be heavy in healthcare. Obviously, that would make sense with the 20% allocation from the biotech fund, but it looks like there's a little more attribution coming in from the growth fund as well as the MSCI Japan fund. On the next tab, the fixed income breakdown tab, you will see that there's going to be a bond maturity exposure, credit quality, as well as the fixed income sector exposure. Here too, it'll create the weighted average, but like the other tabs, I forgot to mention that there's going to be a target allocation. So if you wanted to create a target and you wanted to calculate the difference, you could just type in the numbers in the blue as well. That being said, with our portfolio, you will see that most of it is in corporate bonds, and if you want to look at the credit quality exposure, it looks about half, maybe a little bit less in investment grade, and the rest about 53%-ish in high yield. Lastly, you'll also see that most of our bonds are intermediate. On our last tab, you will see the geographic exposure from all of our securities. You'll see that it's mostly in developed markets, and oddly enough, you'll see a heavy allocation to Asia. That being said, it does make sense as well because we do have a Japan ETF, and that's weighted about 20%. And if you look, it'll have a breakdown of the equity geographic exposure as well as the fixed income geographic exposure. Going back to the asset allocation page, let's say your portfolio is bigger than, I believe this is 20 securities. Let's say your portfolio was 25 securities. It's pretty simple to scale this portfolio, but you do have to be exact when you do scale. So for example, if you wanted to increase it by 5 rows, all you would have to do is highlight 5 rows and go ahead and click on Insert. Now that you've inserted 5 rows of blank cells, you have to copy a row with the formulas located in there. So I'm just going to highlight row 21 and just paste it into the cells that were blank. So just to do a test in this box, I'm just going to throw in a fund, and as you can see, it'll pull in all the data. I also want to note, because we did increase it from row 16 to about row 20 in this or on this tab, you have to do the same for all of the following tabs as well in order for it to make sense. Also, I know my template or my Excel is currently set on the automatic calculation option. So that's why when I typed in that SCNTX, all of that information pulled in. For some of you, you may be set to manual, which is completely fine. But for this case, it may help to be on automatic. I just want to note that there is no real difference when you're trying to, scale template, whether you're on manual or automatic, but I think it helps to be on automatic just so you can see which cells are going to pop up or not. That being said, if you guys do have any questions, definitely feel free to reach out on that comment box. Right now, I'm going to move on to our third topic of the day, which is building your own template. Let me go ahead and close out. And building your own template, on the YCharts tab, you will see several different buttons. Instead of going through and telling you what each one is about, I created this little template so I can show you rather than tell you about it. So in this template, all I have are 3 different tickers as well as just headers with 2 different metrics of the numbers or the figures that I do want to pull. In the cell C4, C5, and C6, as you can see, it's blank. Same for all of the D and E columns. But for C4, let's go ahead and put my cursor there, and then click on YCI. So YCI is useful when you're trying to pull in qualitative data, such as the name of a company. So in this case, I'm just going to click on YCI, and when that box pops up, in the symbol section, I'm just going to click on Apple, and then in the info type, I'm going to click on name, and then click on enter. And as you can see, the Apple name will pop up. And if you drag this down, it'll say error no data. You're probably wondering why it says error no data. If you click in the formula bar, you'll see that it is referring to the right ticker, but for the metric, it's trying to pull in the Apple metric. Obviously, there's no such thing as an Apple metric, so this highlights the reference, or this highlights the need for locking our cells as well as the rows and columns. So I'm going to go back to cell C4, and I'm going to lock the row as well as the column. And to lock the row and the column, all you have to do is put the $ in front of either the column or the row. So in this case, I'm going to put the $ in front of the B and put the $ in front of the 3. So it should read $B4, comma C $3. Okay. Now I'm just going to copy this and paste it down. And as you can see, it pasted perfectly. That being said, in order to pull in quantitative metrics, we're going to refer to the YCP function. So let's go ahead and click on that YCP figure. So here, a box will pop up. I'm just going to refer back to Apple. And then in the Calc, I'm going to click back on price. As we learned before, let's go ahead and lock the column as well as the row. And as you can see, the price popped up. I'm going to drag this down, and I'm going to drag this sideways as well. However, you will see that for Salesforce, there is no PE ratio. The reason why Salesforce doesn't have a PE ratio is because they haven't had any earnings in the past 12 months. So as you can see how it affects the median and the average, in order to put in a figure rather than error no data, let's go ahead and click on the edit formula figure. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you will see this fill null field. In the fill null field, you could put in whatever figure, letter, character, anything you would want to represent the error no data. In this case, if you did put in a 0, you'll see how it affects your median and your average. It'll take into account that 0, so therefore affecting your median and average. If you change it to quotations, the 2 quotations, it'll show up as blank, but you'll see that the median and the average will be the same in this case. So I hope that makes sense for you guys. I also did want to note one other part of the edit formula, and you will see that it's the date function. So date function, it's easiest to do a cell reference, and in that I mean it's easier to actually type in a date somewhere like December 31st, 2015, and when you click on the price, you refer to this cell, which would be G3, and therefore it will pull in the price of 12/31/15 for Apple. That being said, you can actually hard code in this data, but you would have to refer back to our reference guides part of the web page, where there's going to be a syntax guide to guide you that way. It is also possible to put in a figure such as -1, -2, -10 in order to pull in either yesterday's price, 2 days ago price, or a price from 10 days ago as well. That being said, let's move on to the YCS function. So the YCS function essentially works just like a YCP function. However, it's 2 or more data points. Instead of creating a template for you guys, I did want to show you how we can pull this from our website. So going back to our website, I'm just going to type in an economic indicator, and in this case, I've chosen retail sales here. You could have also gotten to retail sales by typing it in the search bar, and as you can see, it'll populate third under the economic. Oh, third. Sorry. It'll populate about sixth in the middle of the search. Whoops. All right, perfect. And once you pull this figure up, it'll show you a chart as well as specific details about this indicator. But on the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see that there's a code, an indicator name, and several values. Let's just go ahead and copy the last 5 values code, the YCS I:USRS -4, and I'm going to put that into a blank sheet here. And I'm just going to paste it, click enter. Obviously, all these numbers are nice and all, but it's hard to make anything of it because you don't know the dates that it belongs to. So let's go ahead and click on that Edit Formula button. And as you can see, it's pulling in the retail sales code, as well as in the start date, it's just using the last 4 figures. So let's say you're interested in the last 10 figures, and you wanted to pull in the dates as well. If you scroll down, you will see that there's a Retrieve Dates field here. Just go ahead and throw in a Y, and if there is a fill null, let's just go ahead and put in a blank, and click on OK. So now that you've pressed enter, you'll see that it'll pull in the associated dates along with the figures. It's definitely possible to do a cell reference. Let's say you were interested in pulling in the S&P price at the date. It's definitely possible to pull that in by just clicking on that YCP figure, typing in the stock, mutual fund, anything you wanted, as well as the metric. And let's refer to that specific date, and then click on enter, and it should pull in the date for that period. So if you drag this down, it'll show all of the different levels during that period. Next, let's move on to the YCD and YCDS. So the YCD and the YCDS work just like the YCP and YCS. The most popular reason to use these figures is to pull in like year-end, quarter-end dates, as well as dividend data. So let's say you wanted to pull in the last ex-dividend date for a fund. All you would have to do is, let's go ahead and put in a mutual fund. So I'm just going to throw in the contra fund. And in that YCD figure, or in the YCharts tab, just go ahead and click on that YCD button. And in the symbol, you could just refer back to the security. And in the calculation, you could go ahead and type in dividend. That being said, you could find all of these figures back either on our data part of the website or on the reference guides section under Tools Excel. And so here, I'm just going to click on OK. And as you can see, the last time the contra fund paid the last time they paid a dividend was on the 11th of December. Now, let's say you weren't interested necessarily in the dollar amount that the contra fund paid a dividend, but you wanted to know the frequency of their dividends in the last year, let's say. That's definitely possible using the YCDS function as well. So let's go ahead and throw in today's date. You could either hard code that information, or you can use the Excel figure or the Excel code today, which would be equals today, open paren, and then close paren, and click on enter. And then you could also hard code in the start date. The start date could be 1/20/2015, or you could just type in EDate, which pulls in the exact date, but several months before. So in this case, since I hard-coded that number, I'm just going to leave it. So go ahead, and at the top of your screen, just go ahead and click on that YCDS button. That'll pop up a box that's similar to YCS. And in that symbol, let's just go ahead and click on the contra fund. in the calculation, let's go ahead and type in dividend one more time. And in that start field, let's click on that start date. And then the end date, you could put in today's date, and then click on OK. And as you will see, it's paid a dividend 3 times in the last year. That being said, that'll wrap up this part of creating your own website. I hope you guys can leverage these skills into either a template that you've downloaded or one that you want to start. Obviously, feel free to contact us if you do have any ideas and you need help putting structure around it. We're definitely open to hearing from you. Also, I want to note that throughout the call, there were a couple of individuals who had issues with the installation as well as an error type, and I'll go through those real quick. So it looks like when you download a file and install the file, the YCharts button isn't showing. In order to test it out to see why, there's 2 reasons why it usually won't show. It's because either one, it's disabled, or the communication add-in is basically disabled. So to enable those, just go ahead and click on File, then go ahead and click on Options, and then in the left-hand side, you'll see the Add-ins tab. And there should be 2 YChart Excel add-in applications. That being said, if there is only one, it's going to be the Excel add-in that's installed and the COM add-in that's not. And in order to add the COM add-in back, just go ahead and scroll your mouse all the way down to the bottom where the Manage drop-down box is and click on COM add-ins and then select Go. That'll take you to this little box, and it should have the YCharts Excel add-in. And just go ahead and click on, go ahead and check on that and click on OK. That should show the YCharts tab. For the other person out there who had it disabled, just go ahead and click on File, Options, Add-ins, and back to this part of the options. And if it is indeed under disabled, just click on that Excel add-ins drop-down, change that to disabled, and click on Go. It'll take you, a box would appear, and it'll say like YCharts Excel add-in. Go ahead and click on that, and then click on Enable, and then Close, and you should see it appear. It looks like one other person did mention that his access key wasn't working. It appears that we did solve it. It's because there was a space either before and after. So just keep in mind that when you do paste in your access key, there's no spaces before or after. Lastly, I also wanted to go through several different error types that do appear in your guys' Excel calls, and I've pointed these out, or I've pointed these out in this spreadsheet. The most popular ones are, the data issue pulls, several account issue errors, as well as Excel-related issues. So let's go ahead and go through these real quick. Error no data. Error no data populates when there's no pertinent data point to the call. So for example, if you're trying to pull the 10-year total return for Facebook, it's not going to appear only because Facebook's been around for 4 years or 5 years. So let's go ahead and change that to a 1-year total return. And as you can see, the return will populate. Error invalid date. This will appear when the date is incorrect. And as you can see, I fat-fingered this on purpose. So let's go ahead and change that date from 2015 112/31 to 12/31/2015, and the price should appear for that date. Next, invalid asset. Invalid asset will appear when the security reference is incorrect. So for example, if there's no stock or a mutual fund with that ticker. As you can see, I just put in M:\AAAAA. Let's go ahead and throw in another real mutual fund here. And I'm going to use the PIMCO Total Return Fund. And as you can see, it'll pull in that figure. Next, error invalid calc. This will appear when the Calc is not referenced correctly. So it's either that we either don't have that reference or if it was misspelled. In this case, I put dividend underscore Y instead of dividend yield. If you go ahead and finish that out by typing dividend yield, you'll see that the correct dividend yield will appear. Lastly, as part of the YCharts data issue, you'll see that there's going to be an error invalid request. And that's when the security reference is also incorrect. As you can see, all of our mutual funds, you do have to put a M colon in front of that. And so this reference, if you throw the M colon in front of the George and Cox fund, you'll see that the price will appear as well. Next, let's move on to the account issues. So the two most popular issues that do appear is error exceeded quota and error multiple logins detected. The exceeded quota will appear if you surpass your 500 megabyte limit. That being said, only about 99% of our clients do exceed that quota, and it's usually for like a one-time build. Our second one is for multiple logins detected, and that's when you have several computers on with your same access key. However, if you would like access to more data or more logins, feel free to reach out to your account manager. They should be able to assist you in solving that issue. And lastly, in terms of the Excel related issues, is the pound value sign. The pound value sign happens when you're trying to add, multiply, or do some kind of math on figures that, well, aren't necessarily numbers. So here, as you can see, I'm trying to add the word hello to 100, and obviously that won't give you, it won't mean anything to you. So let's say you move that hello over to the 100 right next to it, and it should give you 200. So in essence, just make sure when you're doing a cell reference, all of the figures are correct. It could be a simple mistake, and it's usually the case. But otherwise, feel free to reach out to us. That being said, that concludes our review session. I did try to keep this under an hour, so if I don't get to your question today, feel free to reach out. I'm sure Connie and Kyle will personally get back to you after this webinar. That being said, there appears to be several other questions, and we can go ahead and start answering them now.
Thanks, James. That was very helpful. Hopefully our clients found it helpful as well. We did get quite a number of questions in, as James mentioned, and also a couple of comments on the data limit. Just wanted to clarify, 99% of our clients never hit the limit. So in general, it shouldn't be a problem. And then a couple of Excel-related logistical questions, and we'll have James answer them as we've collected them throughout the session. So one often asked question, do I need to log in Excel every time I open a new spreadsheet?
You don't have to, unless it doesn't say using saved app key. It usually only happens when it's the first time you've installed that software. Also, I want to note that, again, you don't have to click it every time. What will happen is after a while, it may give you some kind of other error, so you don't have to click it every time.
Great. A couple of related questions on updating the spreadsheet. So looks like they tend to revolve around pricing, and as far as when does pricing data pull in? Are we pulling intraday or close of day numbers into Excel?
So for ETFs and stocks, as well as most of our indices, they do pull in intraday. That being said, there is a little lag to that. And of course, mutual funds, they don't price until the end of the day.
Okay, and how often can clients expect to be able to refresh the pricing data using that refresh button?
So in terms of pressing that refresh button, our database is updated rather frequently. That being said, I know that there is a lag between the index and YCharts, a little lag, and I would say you can probably press the refresh button every 4 to 6 minutes, depending on the security you're trying to refresh.
So a couple of questions around whether we can automate that refresh process rather than hitting the button itself.
So currently there isn't. I'm glad you brought this up. It has been requested several times by our current clients, and we actually brought it up to our developers, and they are actively working on it. However, for the time being, just make sure that you do click refresh.
Okay, great. So as they're going through questions, we're getting a bunch of other great questions in as well. Some particularly interesting ones. Can we insert our own company branding on the template?
That's definitely possible. So I'm going to refer back to our one-page equity Tearsheet. Give me just a second. You will, once it pops up, you'll see that it's currently a YCharts logo. You could simply just delete it and go ahead and click on Insert your own picture and brand it to any logo that you would like.
Great. And is there a maximum number of data fields on a spreadsheet?
There isn't necessarily a maximum number of data fields. However, just keep in mind that if you have 10,000 pools, it will take a little bit of time. We do like to keep it under a certain level, but that being said, it also depends on your project. So it depends.
Okay, so for the sake of time, we're going to take two more Excel-specific questions and then switch over to some of the more general account-based Excel add-in questions. We've got a couple questions on the one button that we didn't go over on the YCharts menu tab, which is the flatten button next to refresh. What does that button do? Okay,
so what the flatten button does is it's essentially hard coding the data. So for example, back on our one-page equity screen right now, as you can see, there's that YCI formula. If you click on that flatten button, and it'll pop up a box saying that this can't be undone, just go ahead and click on yes. And once you do that, whoops. Once you do that, it should hard code into Agilent.
All right, great. And last Excel-specific question, what kind of data can we pull from YCharts into Excel? So for the sake of convenience, I'm going to rephrase that to James and say, what data can we not pull into Excel, since that's going to be a much shorter list?
Yeah, so we can pull like somewhere in the ballpark of 99% of the stuff on our website into Excel. That being said, the data that we can't pull is sector data and several information data, qualitative YCI calls for our securities. But that being said, we're actively working on pulling those in. So hopefully you guys will be able to see them shortly.
Great. Thanks so much, James. So I'm going to take over from here as we wrap up and answer just some last administrative questions as far as the Excel add-in. So a couple of questions about how many computers you can have it on. It is one download per account. As James mentioned, if you are downloading it on multiple computers, you are likely to be locked out of the add-in and get the error multiple logins detected. Lastly, referring to our Excel team here that does build templates, which again, James leads in Chicago. How many templates can I have built by your team for free? It is an included service. Right now we're looking at about 10 tabs per user, but really depending on content and complexity. Again, as your account managers, as James and the team leader and the rest of the Excel team, we're happy to work with you to look at what you would like to have converted and come up with ideas and help you determine what fits within that limit. Again, that's a per user limit, so for larger firms with multiple seats, we're happy to honor that per YCharts license. This is going to conclude our January webinar. Again, we will make sure to have the recording available online afterwards. For those who missed the session or those who weren't able to attend the entire time, please feel free to share the recording to your colleagues any references you may have that would be interested in learning more about YCharts and our Excel add-in capabilities in particular. If you have any feedback from this webinar, we would definitely appreciate hearing it. And if you have any follow-up questions, please reach out to your account manager as well. Thank you again for joining, and see you in February.